Kia ora, it's Kathryn here from HELP. It can be really helpful for survivors and to end sexual violence if people know more about sexual violence, but not everybody wants to know. So this is for you if you're interested. I'm going to answer some common questions and offer some things that survivors have told us that they would like people to know. If you have a specific question, please email us supporthelp@aucklandhelp.org.nz. Recovery from the impacts of sexual violence can be helped or harmed by the actions and attitudes of the people around us. What you know makes a difference. Every one of us can make a difference. The first question I've been asked to address is, why didn't she fight back? This is a common question. Survivors ask it of themselves, and it comes up often when you've heard that someone has been sexually assaulted. Basically, as we try to figure out how this happened, is one of the things that comes up. But it's never a good question to ask a victim survivor. So I'm going to answer it for you, so you never need to have to ask. But first, why is it never a good question to ask? Well, because it puts responsibility back onto the person who was hurt. It's a gendered cultural hangover back to times when we expected men to initiate sex and considered it was a woman's job to stop him if she didn't want it. This is not how sex works in a gender equitable world. It is always the responsibility of the person who did the assault, the person who did not proceed only on the basis of an enthusiastic yes of consent. If we do this, put responsibility back onto the victim survivor, it ties into her sense of shame and self-blame. Everyone is different, but many survivors have a sense of self-blame after sexual assault. It's almost like it's an automatic way of handling trauma. If it's my fault, then I can do something different and this will never happen to me again. And that initially can be a really helpful response for people, but we cause harm if we exacerbate it by asking why she didn't fight back. But why didn't she fight back? Well, firstly, she might have. She just didn't win and might not have told that part of the story yet. But more importantly, females are socialised to handle troubles or get out of trouble in other ways, to withdraw or to use relationship. Many of those who perpetrate sexual assault are known to the person. So a woman might not believe that this person, who's her employer, her relative, or even her friend, is actually going to do this to her. So she preserves the relationship by not making a big deal of it, not shoving him off. But then he does it anyway, often. Or she might have made a strategic decision to stay alive by not physically fighting back, because if he can rape you, he can kill you. Most of the women who are killed in this country by people other than their partners or ex-partners are killed in the context of a sexual assault, so it's a rational decision. They might not even have been conscious of making this strategic decision, as it may have happened very quickly at an instinctual level. And then there is the nervous system. You're probably familiar with the idea that when we are frightened, our nervous system drives our bodies into a state of fight or flight. These are ways that we can deal with that terrifying lion. We can fight it if you want to, or you can run away. But there is also a third state that a terrified nervous system can put our bodies into, and that is freeze. There can be survival value in this. If you think of the savannah, maybe the lion doesn't see you if you're not moving, if you're frozen. Or you might seem dead and no longer so appealing to certain predators. It might mean that some sexual predators leave you alone, as you are less of a challenge to subdue, but unfortunately, many don't. A woman might also have fought back psychologically in ways that leave no physical signs later. As researcher Jan Jordan has reported from the survivors of an Auckland serial rapist, there were many ways that those women fought back and were effective in reducing the likely harm. They each did different things, like feigning unconsciousness, or for one woman imagining herself as growing so big that there was no space left for him in the room. So whether her response was physical, psychological, strategic, using relationship skills, or her nervous system taking over and making the decision for her, you can be sure that she would have used whatever she had to try to save her own life.